Part 3. Questions 21 to 35. In this part, you will hear 3 talks or lectures. There are 5 questions for each talk or lecture. For each question, choose the correct answer A, B, C or D. You will hear the talks or lectures only once. Questions 21 to 25.
You will hear a talk about ecotourism, a danger to wildlife.
Ecotourism, a danger to wildlife. This is breakingnewsenglish.com. Ecotourism is a booming business that many tour operators cite as being helpful to nature. Millions of people descend on protected and pristine natural to observe rare species. However, a new report casts doubt on the value of this form of tourism. In fact, it says that ecotourism is more damaging than helpful to nature. Details are in a report published in the journal Trends in Ecology and Evolution. Researchers believe tourists are destroying natural habitat. They pointed to a recent event in Costa Rica had problems laying their eggs who had congregated to watch the turtles. The report says that ecotourism is making animals bolder and that this could endanger the animals. A regular human presence might make animals tamer and less cautious about animals around them, and this could put them at risk of being attacked by their natural threats. Then they will suffer higher mortality and encounter real predators, the report says. It added, when animals interact in benign ways with humans, they may respond to human visitation, and under conditions, human exposure might put them at risk.
(26 to 30).
You will hear a talk about lightening cream.
Avoid skin lightening creams. Cosmetics they tested contained banned ingredients and however, they were available for purchase in UK stores. An LGA spokesperson said these ingredients could pose a serious threat to consumers' health. He said there has been an increase in the number of users experiencing health problems after using the creams. These include seizures, rashes and scarring. The spokesperson said the creams could increase the risk of skin cancer and liver and kidney damage. The global skin lightening industry is booming. In 2017, it was valued at an estimated $4.8 billion and is forecast to nearly double to around 8.9 in the next decade. Many people were selling illegal skin. People incorrectly listed the ingredients, the illegal substances. The LGA said some illegal ingredients acted like paint stripper and could burn off the top skin. It said skin creams containing banned ingredients are very dangerous and could seriously damage your health for life and even kill you, so they should be avoided at all costs.
Questions 31 to 35.
You will hear a talk about having children.
NewsEnglish.com. Many of us believe that having children is the key to happiness and a perfect family life. Naturally, this idealistic image is true for some, but researchers say that in reality, children make us happiest when they fly the nest, when they've grown up and left home. Researchers in Germany looked at data from a survey of 55,000 over 50-year-olds living in Europe. The survey respondents were quizzed about their emotional well-being. The researchers discovered that most parents were happier with life after their offspring had left home and started making their own way in life. Researchers say this could be because raising children creates financial worry, stress, fatigue, and anxiety. The research was led by Christoph Becker at Heidelberg University. He concluded that a big reason for parents when their children leave home is that the tables are and the children provide more support to their parents. He said parents whose children no longer live with them suffer from fewer symptoms of depression and have a more positive outlook on life. In providing support, Mr. Children's roles as caregivers, providers of financial support, or simply as a means of social contact might outweigh the negative aspects of parenthood. He added that maintaining may stave off loneliness in aiding parents.
That is the end of part 3. Now, you will have 7 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet.
Họ ăn mong đi con tự mình lên đến chị nó như thế nào. Đuổi đậu cái cuối đi thì em nói đi chứ phải em đi đấy mà đọc nói
Part 3. Questions 21 to 35. In this part, you will hear 3 talks, lectures or conversations. The talks, lectures or conversations will not be repeated. There are 5 questions for each talk, lecture or conversation. For each question, choose the right answer. A, B, C or D. Questions 21 to 25 refer to the following professor's lecture. First, take some time to read the questions 21 to 25.
hơn mình trên mình mẹ ở đâu đó mình đến ôi mày cảm bao nhiêu nghe chưa làm tiền thôi.
All right. Today's lecture is about heat. Actually, we will talk about the ways heat moves. This is called heat transfer. Now, there are 3 types of heat transfer. They are called convection, conduction, and radiation. Okay? Okay. Convection happens when heat moves through gases and liquids. When air or water heat up, they get lighter. Then they move away from the heat. They rise. When they get cooler, they change direction. They come back down to the heat again. In convection, this repeats over and over. For example, a hot air balloon. Fire heats the air. The hot air becomes lighter. The balloon rises up. But as the air cools, it gets heavier. So the balloon goes down. Convection is how hot air balloons fly. Now, next is conduction. This happens when heat moves through solids. First, a solid object is put on heat. Eventually, the solid object takes this heat and it gets hot. Some materials are very good at conduction. Metals, for example. This is why many cooking pans, ouch, conduction causes many burns. Finally, heat also moves by radiation. If you can feel heat from an object without touching it, then it is radiating heat. Remember, you can't see this heat. The sun, a toaster, a dryer, all these things use radiation. Have you ever worn?
Questions 26 to 30 refer to the following conversation. First, some time to read the questions 26 to 30.
Tình. Ê, cái bơi lội đâu phải quý đồ nhưng mà chi vẫn có chỉ bây giờ bơi lội bé bé mày nói ra tao bơi cái gì chỉ có đâu mình tắm tắm mình cho mình nghe chưa chỉ phải tiền về có thể được làm ở chi giá để thêm đức tắm thời chất chuối và cái đây là có chín không
Okay, so Impressionism was a new way of painting. It went against old art standards. It changed what was seen as good art. Before it, art was considered good if it was exact. Artists tried to reproduce what they saw on the canvas. They aimed to make the painting look just like what they could see. Impressionist painters were different. The first thing you will notice in an Impressionist painting is the use of color. These artists didn't mix colors. They put two colors side by side. They knew the eyes would blend the colors for them. The purpose was to create bright and bold colors. Movement was also important. Painters often worked outdoors. This was not normal at the time. Most painters had someone pose for them inside. But the Impressionists went outside. First, they wanted to capture life as it was happening. Their subjects were doing something. They were not posing. Blurred lines showed movement. They paid attention to lighting. Working outside allowed artists to use natural light. This is always changing. The change comes through in the painting. Different times of year are represented with the change in seasons. Impressionist art changed art. It broke the rules. Many people did not like it for this reason. If you ask me, that's what makes it so great. And over time, many people agreed.
Questions 31 to 35 refer to the following professor's lecture. First, take some time to read 31 to 35.
No.
The book Watership Down. Let's talk about it today. It has sold more than 50 million copies. This book's themes are people and politics. The book looks at how people treat each other and criticizes government. It uses a story about rabbits. A group of rabbits leave home to find a new place to live. They can't remain in their old home because it's going to be destroyed. So they escape. After a while, the group finds a safe new home, but they start fighting with other rabbit towns nearby. The rabbit these towns are very different, and because of this, no one gets on. This shows how people in real life can't accept each other's differences. One group of rabbits is called Ephrapha. The leader is an adult male rabbit. He controls his town. He tells everyone what to do. No child, teenager, or adult has freedom to learn or experience anything there. The other group of rabbits is the Thorn Warren. It is also very bad. Things are too easy there. Growing up in a place like that means you learn very little. Some people think that the two rabbit towns are like different kinds of governments in the world, and that no government is perfect.
Oh, I see. Having a really easy life is bad for you. This is like the Thorn Warren. The rabbits don't have to work to find food there. And Ephrapha is a place where there is no real freedom, so it is bad too.
Yes, exactly. Watership Down may seem like a simple story about rabbits, but it asks real questions about how we live. This is why it is so popular.
Choose the correct answers. What is the lecture mainly about? What is the reason the rabbits leave home? Listen again to part of the lecture, then answer the question.
One group of rabbits is called Ephrapha. The leader is an adult male rabbit. He controls his town. He tells everyone what to do.
Why does the professor mention the leader of Ephrapha? How is the professor's lecture organized? Listen again to part of the lecture.
People are working to an older age in Britain. The number of 70 to 74-year-old people who work has doubled in the past decade. Around 10% of British people in their early 70s are now working. It is the highest figure since records began. The British government says just over 250,000 70 to 74-year-olds currently have jobs. In 2005, there were around 100,000 of them. The government said people are working to an older age and are deciding to retire later. A Labour Union spokesperson said the reason for people working in their old age is because retirement pensions in Britain are. Many older people have to work and to be able to survive. Francis O'Grady said changes in the labour market, with far more people being beyond retirement age. While there are plenty who enjoy remaining in work, many need to earn extra cash. They cannot afford to retire. He added that we need decent jobs and pensions for all so that people can make a genuine choice about whether they remain in work. A spokesman for small businesses, John Allen, said more were starting their own businesses. He said, more and more older people are deciding on a career change later in life and are starting up their own businesses, pursuing something they may have dreamed of doing for years.
That is the end of part 2. Now turn to part 3. You will hear the lectures. In each talk or lecture there are 5 questions. For each question, choose the correct answer A, B, C or D. You will hear the talks or lectures only once. Now open your questions paper and look at talk or lecture 1. You now have 35 seconds to look through the questions in each question. Now we are ready to start. Listen carefully.
Dolls have always fascinated me, and that's why, 5 years ago, I was delighted to be offered the job of running a doll museum. Dolls have existed for thousands of years, and the earliest dolls we know about were found in graves in ancient Egypt. I only wish we could get 1 or 2 for our museum, but we haven't unfortunately got anything as old as that in the museum. All the same, we have got examples from Europe from the 12th century, but my favourite early dolls are actually from the 17th century. They interest me, or fairly early, but also because of they have their original clothes. We know what the owners wore, since dolls in those days were dressed like their owners. They were made of the only material readily available for things like this at the time, solid wood, and they were painted in great detail. In fact, on the best century makeup. Dolls like these were very expensive then, and only the very rich. These days, they're popular with collectors, and if you want one today, you have to pay anything up to £10,000 for a condition from this time. By the way, what makes it valuable is that, as far as a collector is concerned, a doll is only worth collecting if it is in perfect condition, and that means having the original. Doll collecting has become very fashionable and opened, with people interested in dolls from every period, later dolls. There's great interest in 19th century examples, when dolls were no longer made of wood, but began to have soft body and real hair. They were very delicate, and few have survived, meaning such a doll would be worth about a bit more. Later in the take off the doll's hair. If you can, you can see the maker's name underneath. And of course, the right one increases the doll's value. There was a really big change in dolls at the beginning of the 20th century. In the museum, we have one of the earliest, about 1909, of a doll that's a model baby. Previously, all dolls, the earlier ones, were little adults.
Now open your question paper and look at talk. 35 seconds to look through the questions in each question. Now we are ready to start. Listen carefully.
Hello, I'm Stephen Mills. I will travel with you on the Tiger Tour to India, but I'm not your tour guide. I work as an artist, and I'm going to take some photographs of tigers so that I can use them when I paint some pictures later. An expert guide will join the group when we arrive in India, but I'm leading the group until then. We leave London on the 6th of November, arriving in India the following day. It's a good time of year to visit the wildlife park where the tigers live. The rainy season finishes in October, and later in the year, the park gets more crowded and the tigers become shy. We'll spend 10 days in the wildlife park. There are 20 other types of animal and 300 types of bird to see, as well as tigers. There are 18 of us all together, and everything is organized for our company. For example, although we're in the jungle, we won't have to sleep in tents. The hotels where we'll stay are all very comfortable. Instead of seeing tigers, we'll stay in 2 different parks. We'll spend 3 days in the north, where we'll around in an open truck, and the rest of the time in the south, where we'll travel around on elephants. That should be fun. On the way back to London, one night's bed and breakfast in the Indian. You can either go sightseeing or go shopping. But please note that lunch is not provided on our day of departure, as the plane leaves at 2 in the afternoon. Now, if there are...
Now open your question paper and look at top 35 seconds to look through the questions. Question. Now we are ready to start.
For the second in our series of locally run businesses, we meet Simon Winridge, co-founder of the hugely successful Winridge Forest Railway Park. Welcome, Simon. You can begin by telling us a little bit about how it all started.
Well, during the 1970s, my wife Liz and I had just acquired 80 acres of sheep farming land, and we decided to settle down and have children. Pretty soon we had a daughter, Sarah, and a son, Duncan. The place was wonderful for the kids. They particularly loved trains and gradually built up an enormous network of miniature railway track. I began to develop larger scale models of locomotives, but we didn't think anything until I went on a trip to a theme park near Birmingham, and we could do a much better job. So we set up a small one ourselves, based on the miniature railway, and we opened to the public for just a month that year. In July, our driest month, because they didn't want our guests to have a miserable wet visit. I dealt with park business and Liz carried on with the farm work. It soon became clear that we were onto a winner. We began to extend the railway track and lay it among more interesting landscape, like trees, which in turn attracted more wildlife, and by making cuttings through the rock. Nowadays, we're open all year round, and we're pleased to say that Winridge is one of the most popular visitor attractions in the area, with 50,000 visitors a year. 1.5 million people have been through our doors since we opened.
That is the end of part 3. Now you have 5 minutes to check your answers and transfer your answers onto the answer sheet.
Part 3. Questions 21 to 35. In this part, you will hear 3 talks or lectures. There are 5 questions for each talk or lecture. For each question, choose the correct answer A, B, C or D. You will hear the talks or lectures only once. Questions 21 to 25.
You will hear a talk about timeouts.
Giving children time-outs won't harm them. This is breakingnewsenglish.com. There is good news for parents who are in two minds about the merits of using time-outs as a form of punishment. Research from the University of Michigan in the USA says there is evidence to show time-outs can be an effective discipline strategy for children aged between 2 and 8 years. Researchers say parents do not need to fret about their parenting skills if they give time-outs to misbehaving children, as they do not harm children's mental well-being or their relationship with their parents. In an 8-year study, researchers compared the emotional health and behavior in children whose parents used timeouts with those who didn't. They found there was no difference in the children. Timeouts are a form of discipline used by parents to modify their children's behavior. It usually involves sending children to a quiet space or quiet corner. The aim is for children to reflect on their behavior. Scientists have disagreed about the effectiveness of this strategy. Dr. Rachel Knight said, "Some reports in the media and by select organizations have suggested that timeout is ineffective and even harmful." She added, "There are some alarming claims that child relationship and negatively affect, but the research simply doesn't support those claims." Dr. Knight concluded, "We did not find a relationship between timeouts and negative side effects in children."
Questions 26 to 30.
You will hear a talk about wasabi.
Wasabi gives woman broken heart syndrome. This is breakingnewsenglish.com. A woman ended up in hospital after eating a large amount of the spicy condiment wasabi by mistake. The 60-year-old woman was attending a wedding reception in Israel. She mistakenly ate around a green paste, believing it to be an avocado dip. Her taste buds got the shock of their lives when the spices started working on her tongue and nose. The woman said in minutes she felt pressure in her chest and tingling all over her arms. She went to hospital the following day where she was diagnosed with broken heart syndrome. This is a term for symptoms that are similar to a heart attack following physical or emotional distress. Doctors said the woman was struck with a condition known as Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, which typically affects older women. It is also called broken heart syndrome. The heart pumping chamber weakens and suffers a temporary disruption so that it cannot pump blood properly. It is usually brought on altering and shocking events such as financial, serious traffic accidents, or bad news. The syndrome is not as serious as a real heart attack. Most patients fully recover within a month. Doctors said, "To the best of our knowledge, the report of Takotsubo cardiomyopathy triggered reassured sushi lovers that while dangerous."
Questions 31 to 35.
You will hear a talk about decision fatigue.
Doctors give better care in the morning. This is break.com. The quality of medical care you receive from doctors could depend on the time of day you visit a hospital or clinic. A study from the University of Pennsylvania in the USA discovered a significant in the decision-making of physicians at different times of the day. The study concluded that a patient's chances of getting screened for cancer were a lot higher in the morning than they were in the late afternoon. Researchers investigated the numbers of women assigned to breast cancer screening throughout the day. They found that in the hour following 8 a.m., doctors ordered screenings for 64% of women who were eligible for tests. This figure dropped to 48% at 5 p.m. The research said the progressive reduction in assigned screenings as the day progressed could be due to decision fatigue, a kind of mental burnout that interrupts to effectively make decisions the longer they work. Dr. Mitesh Patel said, "Our new study adds to the growing evidence that the time of day decision fatigue impacts patient care." Researcher Esther Sang agreed, saying, "We believe that the downward trend of ordering may be the result of decision fatigue, where people may be less inclined to consider a new decision after they've all day. It may also stem from overloaded clinicians getting behind as the day progresses." This is Maya reporting from Saint-Cyr-le-Lac in France.
That is the end of part 3. Now, you will have 7 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet.